Well, good morning. It's a lovely sunrise out there. Not especially photogenic. This was a very cloudless morning this morning. I did get a couple of pre-dawn shots that I quite liked though. So, not a complete loss coming out for it this morning. So, things that need doing today include an inspection. And that's about it. Does seem like a fairly nice place though, so looking forward to taking a look. It is yet again one of those places I could inspect with my eyes closed if I didn't need to look at the condition of the place. If all I was interested in was the space of the place, how much room there was, I could do a blindfolded because it's one of those places that conforms to the floor plan, the design, the architecture of, I don't know, like 25-30% of the places I've inspected so far, because in the late 70s, early 80s, there were just a bunch of blocks of flats built to this particular set of designs. So yeah, I've basically been inside this flat a bunch of times already, so there won't be any surprises about how much room there is or anything. All I'm interested in is the place in decent condition? Are the cupboard doors falling off? Shit like that. And is the area nice and quiet? Because, again, that's, one of the key things for me, not just for my own personal sanity, being auditory sensitive, but of course content. I need it to be quiet so I can record stuff and stream stuff and talk into a microphone in various forms and not have car noise constantly droning in. So yeah, I'm going to enjoy the rest of the sunset. By the time I've done enjoying that, I'm going to go have some coffee, some breakfast, and we'll talk about something else, I guess. And that light is pretty this morning, isn't it? Pity about what it's lighting up. I look rough as guts this morning. Yeesh. We're on the GoPro again, which means, yes, I've got something to read out from my phone, so I can't record with my phone. We'll switch back to the better-looking phone footage in a sec. Just bear with me here. Comment time. Another comment that I want to use as a touch-off point for some educational purposes. This one didn't really piss me off like some of the ones I've used. I've done this like two or three times before. Of comments that really pissed me off and sort of got under my skin, and I went on a little bit of rant. This isn't one of those. It is someone trying to get under my skin and completely failing, but it is a good framing device for something I do want to talk about, because it's something that has come up in a few comments over the months now that we've been doing this little vlog series, and it's worth talking about because it is an ignorance a lot of people have about what's going on with things like autism. So, comment reads, it's from Arnold somebody. They say, it must be great to always blame an ism on every little issue that we have. Makes it seem as if we're not accountable for anything bad or negative that happens in life. Procrastination? Nope. Ism. Too hot? Maybe it's being overweight and eating fast food every day. Nope. Ism. Imagine living in any other time in human history. Do you really think you would have all this awesome technology if those people blamed isms for their failures or missteps? We're going to start at the bottom of that comment first, but let me switch cameras. There we go. iPhone cinematic mode, a little bit more pleasant. So yeah, I don't know where that last bit came from, saying, "Oh, we wouldn't have the technology if people had isms." Oh, my sweet summer child. The technology you used to post that comment, it's almost a guarantee someone with autism or another ism of some kind had a fairly significant part to play in the development of that technology. It's not a secret that a tremendous amount of people in information technology who helped build the underpinnings of the internet as we know it today, who helped build the technologies that we have today, a lot of autistics, because that kind of thing, that kind of engineering, is something a lot of autistic people and a certain kind of autistic person is excellent at, like super good at, because it is built on a logical structure, a flow of technology that very naturally falls into how our brains work. So I can promise you, yeah. In fact, if it wasn't for the societal bias and the way the world is built to harm, to interfere with, to get in the way, to reject, to isolate autistic people, technology might be better than it is. It's like when you think about if we didn't have 1,000 years of the Dark Ages because of the Catholic Church and shit like that, we'd be colonizing Mars right now. It's that kind of deal. You know, normies holding us back for decades upon decades. But that's not the point I want to make. That's just a funny little thing that this person clearly didn't really think about. But here's the thing, there's a difference between blaming autism for certain things that affect my life. And this comment grew out of a little talk I had on that video, which was talking about how autistic people tend to be a little more sensitive to heat or cold. Sometimes both, sometimes one or the other. And in my case, I'm quite sensitive to the heat. Like hot days affect me significantly more aggressively than they do the average person. My own personal body temperature runs a little hotter than normal, and I don't regulate my body temperature as well as a normal person would. Now, these are medical facts, okay? These are things that have been studied, and these are things that have been found to be fairly consistent throughout the autistic experience. But there's a long way between explaining that, pointing out how my autism affects me physically, not just mentally, and blaming autism for my experiences. I wasn't using autism as an excuse to whine about being uncomfortably hot. I was using it as an explanation about why I get a little more uncomfortable than the average person might in what is merely 26 degrees Celsius weather, which would be very, very comfortable and, in fact, quite pleasant for quite a lot of people. That is excellent weather for people to, go for a lovely walk around the lake. Maybe go to start, that's when you start going to the beach and hanging out. Have a picnic. That is excellent weather for all that sort of stuff. But the fact is, oh my gosh, sorry, horribly distracted by a couple of little Scotty dogs who just drove by in a Mini. Just two little brown Scotty dogs' heads poking out the side window, very excited about their walk. Be prepared, I'm going to be distracted again once they get out of the car and go for a walk, because the track sitting in front of me right now, a lot of people walk their dogs in the morning, which is one of the reasons I come here to sit. When I say Scotty, I mean Scottish Terrier, just so we're clear. If you're not a dog person. These guys. Freaking adorable. Oh, there they go. Oh my gosh, one of them's just barely a puppy. Oh, it can't be more than a year old. Ah! They're not really in a position I can get a good shot of them, I'm afraid. So sorry about that. But yeah, anyway. But yeah, this whole blaming tism for things, it comes from a place where normal people are, I don't know, feel threatened, feel resentful when people like me talk about our personal experiences because they don't line up with what they consider should be a normal experience. My experience is alien to them. It's different to them. It's and some people are wired up in such a way that they think anybody who's different to them, anybody who has an alien experience to them, anyone who sees the world, experiences the world, walks through the world in a different way is a threat to their own little tribal mentality. We evolved from common ancestors of things like chimps and bonobos who all live in little tribal societies. And part of keeping your tribe safe is being a little bit wary about anything that's different to your tribe. It's a very low level base instinct that we as humans are still vulnerable too, but we have the intellectual capacity, in theory, most of us have the intellectual capacity to examine that initial reaction. I'm sorry, there's another dog distracting me. This one I can get a shut off. Hang tight. Look at this little goober over here. Just sitting there with his head sticking out the window. He's yawning away, waiting for, I don't know, his owner to get off the phone or something. I can't see them in the front seat there. But I think they're just, there's the yawn. Come on, can we go for a walk? I need to stretch my legs. Look at him. But yeah, some people's reaction to different people and have this aggressive, bigoted reaction to them and just lash out at them like this person tried to lash out at me for simply explaining and adding context to my personal experience of the world and how autism affects that. I don't blame autism for everything that goes wrong in my life. Sometimes there is an autism-related explanation to certain experiences that I have. Interpersonal relationships, for example, autism plays a heavy role in that because, of course, it does. That's just one of the things autism does. It affects our the way we interact socially because our brains are playing with different software when it comes to processing that kind of stuff. But unfortunately, this is a really, really common thing with all kinds of disabilities and mental health conditions. Anytime someone with them starts talking about them, how it affects the way they exist in the world, and we do live in a world that is designed to serve normies because, well, that's the largest common denominator. It's relatively natural for that to happen. It doesn't have to be that way. We can make efforts to make accommodations for people who have different experiences of the world. And one of those examples is ramps for people with mobility aids and wheelchairs and shit like that. A normal person doesn't need a ramp to go up, 30 centimeters of floor level change. A person in a wheelchair absolutely needs a ramp. That's an accommodation for their different experience of the world. But stuff like this is a golden example of what happens close to every single day of the life of somebody with some kind of disability or with some sort of mental health condition that affects how they move through the world. We are constantly faced by these people who are aggressive towards us because we have different needs to them, who are dismissive of us because our experiences are different than the ones that they have given these same environmental conditions. For example, the weather. They get angry and aggressive and petty about this kind of stuff. They accuse you of blaming your disabilities for your personal experiences like it's something you could otherwise avoid. Just rolling back to that heat thing, this person tried to imply that because I'm heavy, fat, if you will, that I'm more vulnerable to, getting too hot on a summer's day. And while there is some truth to that, extra blubber, perhaps, you're thinking, well, you've got more insulation, you're probably just keeping more body heat in. Yeah, look, at my heaviest and at my thinnest, well, let's not say thin, let's say healthiest, because I've never been thin. It's just not why my body is constructed. I think that might be my Scottish Highlander ancestry there. We're just built chunky. But, none of that has affected how I experience heat. Like this version of me right here, when I lost a bunch of weight, if you look close to that photo, you can see the sweat around my neck and probably under my arms. That was a relatively cool day. I just went for a little photo walk. But, all this aggression just comes from a place of low intellectual ability, low empathy. They don't want to think about how other people experience the world. They just get angry when someone talks about them having a different experience. It is just a really clear sign of someone with low emotional intelligence. Now, I'm being specific here, low emotional intelligence. This person might be very clever, or they might be a complete dumbass, but their ability to empathize, their ability to have emotional intelligence, their ability to think about how someone else's experiences of the world might be different is low to non-existent. And that makes them a pretty damaged person in their own right. That's how they experience the world. Luckily for them, unlike my issue with my body temperature regulation, that is something they can fix. They can just get better educated. They can perhaps listen to people when they talk about their experiences instead of reacting against people when they talk about their experiences. You can just listen and take it on board and go, oh, that's the way your particular body processes these conditions. Mine doesn't do that. That's interesting. Perhaps next time I run across someone with that issue, I'll have a little more sympathy for them and perhaps make some accommodations, like suggesting, well, if we're hanging out together, maybe we go somewhere and hang out where it's air conditioned so they're more comfortable. It's a small thing I can do for them instead of expecting them to adapt to my world the entirety of the time. Because that's something autistic people constantly do. And it's part of masking behavior. We are changing the way we are expressing ourselves. We are changing the way we are processing and reacting, responding to the world to make other people more comfortable. Because if we don't do that, we very often get people like this who react aggressively towards us. So me not mentioning that I'm too hot in these conditions if I'm hanging out with people, that would be a form of masking. It's making myself less comfortable. It's suppressing something about myself. It's making my day worse so I don't risk an aggressive reaction from someone else. It is a self-protecting measure, and it is like the tip of the iceberg of what masking does to us and why masking long-term is so detrimental to the happiness, to the mental health of autistic people, and why I mask as little as possible these days. Because I spent 8 years in retail, where pretty much every single day, or 5 or 6 days a week at least, I had to mask, 9 to 6, in order to get through that workday. And that did tremendous damage to my mental health. In fact, it nearly killed me. And I mean that very literally. What it did to me nearly caused the end of my life. If you know what I mean. That S word that we're not allowed to say on social media because the AA bot crawlers will suppress it. That thing. That's what long-term masking does to us. It is a statistical fact. Again, this is not me blaming autism for something. I'm telling you a statistical, demonstrable fact. Autistic people are better at something else than normies as well, and it's that S word. We think about it more often, we succeed about it more often. Because of reactions like this, because of the behavior we have to exhibit to avoid constant exposure to aggressive, petty, angry, ignorant reactions like that comment. So, I don't know. Maybe next time you're exposed to someone describing their personal experiences about the world, have a listen instead. Try empathy. Give it a go. Just once in your life. Be brave. Empathize. Not too difficult. For most of us. Because you see, here's the secret of it all. One of the reasons I talk about it so often in my videos, the autism stuff and the bipolar stuff, is in sharing my personal experiences and sharing a little context around that, and talking about how my personal recipe of autism isn't necessarily everybody's recipe, and here's how things can differ between us sometimes. All of that. The whole reason I'm using these vlogs as an avenue to talk about that sort of stuff is to feed out a little extra information. Because the more regular people know about this, the more empathetic they might be when they meet someone in their own lives with autism or some other related, series of personal experiences. And I know for a fact that it's working because I have spoken to people about how it's working for them. In fact, one of my mates, his kid has an autistic friend, and he was telling me just the other day about how watching my videos with his kids has helped open up conversations about that, and has helped teach his kid how to better relate to his mate with autism and understand, the kinds of things his friend might be going through, and be more empathetic and be more understanding and be more informed about all that kind of stuff. And frankly, nothing could make me prouder than to know that through me, through sharing my experiences, someone else has learned how to make someone else's life in their own lives a little bit better through understanding them better, being, a little bit more ready to accommodate when they have, needs that a regular person doesn't have, or perhaps wouldn't ordinarily anticipate someone else having. Because guess what happens when you spend time thinking about other people and thinking about how you could make their lives a little bit better? The whole world gets a little bit better if everybody just cranked up their willingness to be more deliberately empathetic. Like, not just passively empathetic, deliberately empathetic, and anticipate other people's comforts and needs and happiness a little bit more. There is no calculation, there is no math that says that doesn't result in a better world. And just as a side note, about the fat shaming part of that whole comment, it's funny to me, not in the ha-ha way, but in the, isn't that bizarrely consistent? But it's funny to me how whenever I am fat shamed, or whenever someone comments on how I look, they never have pictures of themselves in their profile. It's almost as if they're willing to dish it out, but not have someone judge them based on their appearance. Wonder why that could be. Oh, I know, it's insecurity. It's basic, bitch, cowardly insecurity. And that's fine. Lots of people are insecure about things, I don't want my picture taken with my shirt off because I'm insecure about how I look. I try and keep my weight down. Like I said, I've never been skinny. I never will be skinny. It's just not the sort of natural position my body wants to be in, I think. Some people are just heavier. But I do try and keep my weight under control because of my chronic back issue, because the heavier I get, the more pressure my back is under to keep me upright. But also, it's difficult to get enough exercise when you do live in chronic pain. And it's also really, really, really difficult to eat properly when you're homeless and living out of a van and can't cook properly for yourself. Your food options are pretty limited. So, yeah, fat shaming is bad enough. Fat shaming someone with chronic pain who is homeless, yeah, that's insensitive at best and just gross at worst, frankly. Not a very good human. That behavior is not the behavior of a good human. Oh boy! Little update to our comment lever that sparked the conversation we're having. I responded to the comment, and I did so before I recorded that other bit. It was a very short comment, and it just basically boiled down to, hey, instead of freaking out that somebody's different than you are, maybe just listen. Okay, that was the core message of my response. I don't know the demographics of this person, but they reacted in what I tend to call an absolute boomer conniption fit. Because just like a stereotypical boomer, the ones that get caught on video all the time, freaking out at somebody, they cannot fathom that their personal experience is not the only experience that could possibly exist. And anybody else who challenges that or presents them with an alternative viewpoint is attacking them directly. How dare you speak against me? I corrected you. You have no right to correct my correction. I am the authority on all things. Your viewpoint is small and stupid and pathetic and embarrassing, really, because it means I might have to think about how I treat people. I didn't even finish reading their response, because when I say they flipped out, I mean they flipped the fuck out. Like 15 paragraphs of crap, and they started it with the classic boomer move of claiming that everybody has an ism these days. You just go to a psychologist and they diagnose you with any ism you like, so you can blame your ism for all your problems, and just proving, again, they don't want to listen at all. I pointed out to them that talking about my body temperature thing was a simple medical fact. Maybe listen, maybe self-educate, double check for yourself. It takes 3 seconds to Google it. All right? Autism, body temperature, something along those lines. 3 seconds to type it out, a couple more seconds to read a few paragraphs of some of the search results, and you've got your medical evidence for the stuff I'm talking about right there. Click through, have a read, learn something new, educate yourself, become a better person. No! How about we flip out and spend 15 minutes slamming down on the keyboard as angrily as possible and blaming me for all of your personal problems? Yikes! I stopped reading as they started to double down on their original point that people like me blame our autism for everything that goes wrong and we don't do anything to try and fix it. Dude, do you have any idea how much work it is to be autistic, to exist in this world, to function in this world, to fit in this world to an acceptable enough manner that we don't self-destruct? We constantly work towards that. We're not sitting here blaming autism, shrugging, giving up and hiding in a corner. That's not how it works. And you'd know that if you would just fucking listen. That's all that is required of you. Shut your gob, lift your hands away from the keyboard, and listen. We're not asking you to do that much work. Just listen to somebody else for a change. Perhaps for the first time ever, I suspect. It'll be a new experience for you to listen to somebody else's experience and not immediately get angry at them because they're not exactly like you. But thank you for this golden opportunity to double down on using you as an example about the kind of horse shit people like me have to put up from fucking normies who don't want to listen. Hashtag not all normies. Normies who do want to listen, as we talked about before, there's plenty of those around too, and I appreciate those people so much for doing the bare minimum of just listening. Just stop pretending you're the main character of every situation you are ever in and listen. That's step 1 of 1. But yeah, like I said, I didn't even read the full comment. It was exhaustingly long and started off in ignorance and then doubled down in ignorance. And I saw no value in reading it. I saw no value in leaving it up so other people could waste their time reading it, because people like that are just not in the mindset to listen. If you respond to that comment, they're just going to triple down. I know this for a fact because I've seen it happen for decades of my existence. Which is why I choose to sometimes instead do it in this format, where I'm not really trying to get through to them anymore. I'm just using them as an example, hoping to reach somebody else out there before they make the mistakes this person has made. Like this person, I don't have the energy for that. They're a lost cause as far as I'm concerned. I know I will never convince them to listen, but maybe through some secondhand embarrassment, perhaps, somebody else out there went, "Oh, do I do that? I might try listening next time." Holy shit. Classic boomer flip out. It was crazy. Oh, the Scotties are back. Oh, wow, they went for a long walk. I think they went all the way around the lake. They've been gone for ages. Hello, Scotties. Wait, can I get in the Scotties? Scotty. Bark, 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 bark. Look at your floofy little tails. Right, what the hell was I saying? I don't know, something about boomers flipping out. Doesn't matter anymore. It's Scottish Terriers, man. They're one of those dog breeds you can't, you know, it's really hard not to be slightly happier about the world when you see one. Like when you see a mini dachshund running, see a miniature dachshund galloping, it's hard not to be slightly cheered up, even for a moment. Dogs will listen to you. Even if they've got no idea what you're talking about, they will attentively listen to you. They try. Dogs are better people than most people. Okie dokie, update time. Just pulled around to a convenient parking spot near the place I need to inspect. A bit early. Got about an hour to kill here, actually. But I got kind of restless at the last place I was sitting at, so shrug. But it does seem quiet enough. We are near a major road, but we're sort of backed off it a little bit. I can hear it in the distance, but you know, once you get inside somewhere, you'll never hear it, I don't think. And there's a little park nearby, which is I'm parked near. And they've just mowed the grass this morning. Or possibly within the last hour or so, judging by the wonderful smell of fresh cut grass that is currently on the breeze. Oh, gust right on cue. So yeah, I'm gonna sit here and probably scroll around TikTok and enjoy the smell of fresh cut grass and wait for inspection time. So, just inspected the place. It is, what's the most concise way I can put it? It is a time capsule from 1974. Not even I am as old as some of the fixtures in this place. But yeah, I mean, it was fine. There was, you know, all the doors were doing door things and not falling off. Yeah, it seemed fine. It hasn't been renovated in quite some time. But aside from the stylistic offensiveness of the brownness of that era, it will serve us perfectly fine. It even had its own little backyard, which was full of bees, but still. A relatively private little space out there too, so not bad. It was a little bit on the smaller side, and the bathroom was an ensuite to the bedroom instead of being off the laundry. So the plan, like the floor plan was, like I said, just so close to identical to, you know, at least half a dozen other places I've looked at, but they put the doors in different places, so the flow was a bit different, which was fine. I'd have to get a little creative with space usage, but again, beggars, choosers, and price versus space compared to what I was doing in Sydney, it's a different world. So yeah, definitely put in an application. Saw some familiar faces amongst my fellow applicants there. And for a weekday inspection, there are a fair few people there today. So yeah, pretty popular one. So rolling those dice, who knows how many will come to whatever weekend inspection they run. But yeah, everyone who came out of there went, yep, send me a link, I'll put in an application. So I can't see why anyone wouldn't. Although accessibility might be an issue. Like a couple of my fellow inspection people were, you know, they had mobility aids in the forms of walking sticks and things, and then shuffling about a bit. And getting into the place is a multi-level thing. There's a big step off from the little sort of veranda piece into the backyard, so getting in and out of the backyard might be difficult for someone who needs a cane to move around. And the bathroom fixture, like stepping in and out of the bath, that's, you know, it was quite a deep and confined space for that as well. So that would be the only thing I can imagine that would put them off applying. But considering the competition that's around, I think they'd probably find ways to deal with that rather than not apply. So, all right, in any case, it's very warm. The van is very warm. The 20 minutes I've left it alone in the sun, it's starting to bake up. So I'm going to drive back to a shady spot and blast my air conditioning the whole way. Do I want something to eat? Yeah, maybe a snack, cheeseburger or something. All right, day's coming to a close, and I picked a whole big bouquet of oofsie daisies. My back's bad. It's been bothering me all day, a little bit yesterday, as a matter of fact, too. Today it's been getting kind of aggressive. I've tried not to mention it. I've been processing the pain in the background. Talking about it brings it to front of mind and generally makes it harder to process and, well, not ignore, but deprioritize, if you will. It's tough to explain how the processing goes. But, you know, like with any sensory thing that goes on in my autistically wired brain, the persistent ache, throbbing, sometimes spasming, hasn't spasmed today, but it feels like I've been kicked, just hard, just right in the lower back on my left side. So, but yeah, you know, that sensory input has to be processed along with everything else, and you know, there's some little mental tricks that I try to, you know, try and not focus on it too much, because if I do, it stops me being able to concentrate at all, because it is quite an intense sensation. However, it has now reached the stage where it is oppressive in the processing. It's taking up a lot more room, and I'm finding it very hard to think, talk, move, sit completely still. You know, there's nothing I can do that stops the pain taking up, you know, half my brain power. In simple terms, anyway. So yeah, that's not fun. No thoughts. Sorry, I've completely spaced on what I was going to say. Like I said, I'm having quite a significant battle with my consciousness right now. It does not really want to engage the thinky bits and the language center and the part of the brain that's responsible for planning and decision making, and you know, but basically anything in the prefrontal cortex. It's just like, nah, I need all the energy to process the ceaseless nerve signals that are coming from your spine. So yeah, I'm just going to go. So thank you for whatever support you've been throwing my way, whether it be something as simple as hitting the like button, leaving a comment. Appreciate that very, very much. And a special, bigger, more significant thank you to the people who've supported in other direct ways, through the PayPal, Super Chat, Patreon, that kind of thing. Yeah, anyway. Why's my locking mechanism clicking? The doors are all shut. One door must not be properly shut. Weird. So yeah, bye.